Let me say something that may quietly disrupt everything you've been told about attraction. Women don't fall for men who chase them. They fall for men whose presence settles them. And the reason many older men become irresistible has nothing to do with age and everything to do with one invisible quality. It's not confidence, it's not experience, it's not even wisdom. It's something far more rare, and once you understand it, you'll see why some men become more magnetic with time, while others fade into emotional noise. If you've ever wondered why a woman feels instantly at ease with one man and inexplicably guarded with another, stay with me, because this is not about seduction tactics. This is about the nervous system, and once you understand how attraction truly works, you can never unsee it. Emotional steadiness is often misunderstood because it doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't demand attention or validation. It shows up quietly in how a man responds rather than reacts, how his tone stays measured even when emotions run high, and how his sense of self doesn't collapse when someone disagrees with him. Women don't experience this quality as logic, they experience it as relief. Around an emotionally steady man, there is less guessing, less monitoring, less bracing for impact. His behavior today matches his behavior tomorrow, not because he is rigid, but because he is internally anchored. He doesn't swing between affection and distance, interest and indifference. That consistency tells the nervous system that connection here is not dangerous. This quality usually develops with time because it requires exposure to loss, failure, and disappointment without becoming hardened by them. An older man who has integrated his experiences doesn't carry unresolved emotional urgency. He doesn't rush intimacy to fill a void or withdraw when vulnerability appears. His emotions move through him instead of controlling him. When conflict arises, he doesn't escalate to dominate or shut down to escape. He stays present, grounded, and accountable, which subtly communicates strength without force. For many women, emotional steadiness feels rare because it contrasts sharply with emotional volatility that masquerades as passion. Volatility creates adrenaline, but steadiness creates trust, and trust allows desire to deepen rather than spike and crash. This is why the attraction often feels unexpected, even confusing. She may not be able to articulate why she feels calmer, more open, more drawn in his presence, but her body recognizes the absence of emotional threat, the predictability of his reactions, the quiet confidence that does not need to prove itself, and that recognition reshapes how attraction unfolds over time. When emotional steadiness signals safety, it operates far below conscious thought. A woman does not sit and evaluate whether a man is regulated or grounded. Her nervous system does it for her within moments. Safety here does not mean the absence of attraction or intensity. It means the absence of emotional threat. When a man's reactions are proportional, when his tone remains stable, and when his presence does not demand emotional labor, her body relaxes, shoulders drop, breathing slows, guardedness softens. This response is biological, not romantic fantasy. The nervous system is constantly scanning for cues of danger or stability, and emotionally steady men send signals of predictability rather than chaos. Many men believe excitement creates attraction, but excitement without safety triggers vigilance. In contrast, emotional steadiness creates a feeling of being able to exhale. An older man who has learned to regulate his emotions does not rush closeness, does not pressure for reassurance, and does not destabilize the connection when he feels uncertain. His calm responses during silence, disagreement, or delay quietly communicate that connection does not come with emotional penalties. That message matters deeply, especially for women who have experienced inconsistency or emotional whiplash in past relationships. Safety also allows authenticity. When a woman senses she won't be punished for expressing needs, boundaries, or vulnerability, she becomes more open, more playful, more alive. Desire grows not because she is being pursued aggressively, but because her nervous system is no longer on alert. Emotional steadiness creates an environment where attraction can expand without fear, where intimacy feels natural instead of risky, and where connection deepens through consistency rather than intensity. When an older man carries calm instead of urgency, it changes how he is perceived at a fundamental level. Urgency always signals lack, even when it is disguised as enthusiasm or passion. It shows up as rushing conversations, pushing for clarity too soon, needing reassurance, or subtly seeking validation through attention. Calm, on the other hand, communicates fullness. A man who is not in a hurry emotionally suggests that his life is already anchored. He is not trying to extract meaning, excitement, or identity from the woman in front of him. That absence of pressure is felt immediately. Women often describe this presence as grounded or solid, even if they can't explain why. The older man who has integrated his experiences doesn't need to impress or convince. He allows space for connection to unfold naturally. Silence doesn't threaten him. Ambiguity doesn't provoke anxiety. He trusts his own capacity to handle outcomes, which removes the subtle emotional burden many women unconsciously carry when interacting with men who need reassurance or direction. This calm also changes the pace of intimacy. Instead of escalating quickly and then collapsing, the connection builds gradually, allowing attraction to deepen rather than spike. There is no emotional whiplash, no sudden withdrawal after intensity. His steadiness creates a sense that what is offered today will still be there tomorrow. That reliability allows curiosity, desire, and emotional openness to grow without defense. Over time, this consistent calm becomes deeply compelling because it contrasts with a world full of emotional noise, unpredictability, and reactive behavior, making his presence feel rare, stabilizing, and quietly magnetic. Predictability in behavior is often mistaken for boredom, but emotional predictability is what allows attraction to feel safe rather than exhausting. An older man who is emotionally steady does not surprise a woman with sudden shifts in mood, affection, or availability. She doesn't have to decode mixed signals or brace for emotional turns. What she experiences instead is clarity. His interest is expressed without pressure, and his boundaries are communicated without punishment. That consistency reduces anxiety and creates a subtle sense of trust that builds quietly over time. This kind of predictability doesn't mean he is rigid or emotionally flat. It means his core reactions remain stable even when circumstances change. Disappointment doesn't turn into withdrawal. Conflict doesn't become contempt. Desire doesn't turn into entitlement. His responses remain proportionate, which signals emotional maturity. For many women, this is deeply disarming because it contrasts with experiences where affection was conditional or unpredictable. As this pattern repeats, the nervous system learns that connection with him does not require constant monitoring. Emotional energy is no longer spent managing uncertainty, so it becomes available for curiosity, attraction, and intimacy She feels freer to express herself without fear of destabilizing the bond. Over time, this reliability transforms into something more powerful than excitement. It becomes a sense of emotional safety that allows desire to deepen because attraction no longer has to fight against anxiety, confusion, or emotional volatility to survive. Reducing drama without reducing depth is one of the most misunderstood aspects of attraction. Many people assume that emotional intensity is proof of connection, when in reality, it is often a sign of unresolved insecurity. An older man with emotional steadiness doesn't create emotional highs and lows to feel alive or connected. He doesn't provoke jealousy, disappear to be chased, or escalate conflict to feel powerful. Instead, he brings depth through presence, listening, and consistency. Conversations with him feel meaningful not because they are chaotic, but because they are grounded. Depth emerges when emotions are allowed to exist without being amplified or suppressed. An emotionally steady man can hold sadness, desire, frustration, or affection without turning them into performances. He doesn't dramatize his feelings to gain attention, nor does he minimize them to appear strong. This balance allows a woman to experience emotional richness without the exhaustion that often accompanies volatile relationships. She doesn't have to brace herself for fallout after moments of closeness. As drama fades, something unexpected happens. Intimacy becomes clearer, connection feels cleaner. There is room for curiosity, humor, and vulnerability because emotional energy is no longer consumed by conflict management. The bond feels adult rather than addictive. For many women, this is deeply attractive because it offers emotional nourishment instead of emotional turbulence. The relationship feels like a place where growth can occur, not a cycle that must constantly be survived. Emotional volatility is often confused with passion because it creates intensity, unpredictability, and emotional spikes. But intensity is not the same as attraction that lasts. An older man with emotional steadiness does not rely on emotional swings to generate connection. He doesn't alternate between closeness and distance to keep someone hooked, and he doesn't mistake emotional chaos for depth. His interest is expressed in a way that is consistent, not consuming, which feels very different in the body. Volatility keeps the nervous system activated. It creates anxiety, anticipation, and adrenaline, which can feel exciting at first, but quickly becomes exhausting. Many women have experienced relationships where emotional unpredictability demanded constant attention, interpretation, and emotional labor. Over time, the body associates that pattern with stress rather than desire. When a woman encounters a man whose emotional responses are stable, the contrast is striking. There is no emotional roller coaster to manage, no sudden shifts that require adaptation. This steadiness allows attraction to move from a reactive state to a grounded one. Desire becomes something that grows through familiarity rather than fear of loss. Instead of chasing emotional highs, the connection deepens through trust and emotional clarity. What makes this especially compelling is that steadiness doesn't dull attraction, it refines it. It replaces chaos with coherence, urgency with presence, and volatility with a sense of emotional safety that many women didn't realize they were craving until they felt it. Consistency over time is what allows trust to form beneath awareness, without discussion or negotiation. A woman doesn't decide to trust a man because of a single gesture or conversation. Trust develops when his behavior repeats itself in predictable ways across different situations. An older man with emotional steadiness shows up the same way when things are easy and when they are uncomfortable. His tone doesn't change when he's challenged. His interest doesn't disappear when he feels uncertain. His respect doesn't depend on mood or outcome. Over time, the nervous system records these patterns and begins to relax its defenses. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. Grand moments can impress, but repetition creates safety. When a man's words and actions align again and again, the mind stops scanning for danger. There is no need to interpret hidden meanings or anticipate emotional shifts. The body learns that what is offered today will not be taken away tomorrow without explanation. That predictability builds subconscious trust long before conscious attachment forms. Older men often carry this consistency because they have learned the cost of being reactive. They understand that reliability is not boring, it is regulating. Their presence does not fluctuate based on validation or fear of loss. They don't overpromise during closeness or retreat during discomfort. This steady pattern allows a woman to invest emotionally without bracing for instability. Attraction grows not from urgency, but from familiarity that feels safe. Over time, this consistency becomes deeply compelling because it allows desire to settle, deepen, and remain intact without the constant threat of emotional disruption or withdrawal. This quality, emotional steadiness, is often felt before it is consciously recognized. Women pick up on subtle cues long before they process them logically. The way a man's voice remains calm under stress, how his body language doesn't betray impatience, or how he responds to vulnerability without judgment. These signals register in the nervous system, not the mind, creating a sense of safety almost instantly. It's why a woman can feel drawn to an older man within minutes, even if she cannot explain why. It goes beyond words or actions, it's the energy he carries. A man who has integrated his experiences and learned to regulate his emotions radiates a quiet assurance. He doesn't need to manipulate, impress, or perform. His presence alone communicates that he can handle life's challenges without losing himself, and this reliability is deeply attractive on a biological level. Women are wired to detect consistency because it signals a lower risk of chaos, unpredictability, and emotional harm. Emotional steadiness is rarely something a man can fake. It develops over time through life experience, reflection, and intentional emotional growth. Women sense this authenticity. They feel it in moments of silence, in how conflicts are handled, and in the subtle ways he honors both his own boundaries and hers. That unconscious recognition, feeling safe, grounded, and seen, is what makes older men irresistible. It is not charm, status, or appearance that draws women in. It is the rare quality of being emotionally anchored, predictable in response, and unshakable in presence, creating a magnetic pull that is felt long before it is understood. In the end, what makes older men truly irresistible is not wealth, status, or even experience. It is the quiet, unspoken power of emotional steadiness. This is the ability to remain grounded when life shakes, to respond rather than react, and to carry oneself with a calm certainty that creates safety without effort. Women feel it before they understand it. It registers in their nervous system, not their minds. It is what allows desire to grow naturally without pressure or volatility and transforms attraction from a fleeting spark into a deep magnetic pull. Emotional steadiness is rare because it requires reflection, integration of life experiences, and the courage to face disappointment without bitterness. But once a man embodies it, he becomes profoundly compelling. His presence is stabilizing, his response is predictable yet warm, and his energy invites connection rather than demands it. In a world full of chaos, urgency, and emotional whiplash, this quality is magnetic because it signals reliability, trustworthiness, and authentic confidence. So, if there is one takeaway, it is this: women are irresistibly drawn to men who have mastered themselves emotionally, who can hold their ground, and who create a space where she feels safe to be herself. That is the invisible, unshakable force that not only attracts but sustains desire, and it is what makes older men quietly, profoundly irresistible.